Ladies and gentlemen, you might be asking, why am I wearing this mask? I don't know. I genuinely don't fucking know. So, I made a post on my YouTube channel saying, have you got any questions? I've got answers. I will be recording a live Q&A. This is that live Q&A. All of you who left questions, appreciate it very much. If you didn't get a chance to leave a question, you can still leave it on this comment. This is in my community tabs on my YouTube channel. Leave it there. I will answer it in an upcoming video. Let's get straight to it, ladies and gentlemen. This first one is a doozy. How do you balance work that you love, a happy relationship, and self-improvement? You make it look so easy. Andy, oh my good Lord, I have a lot to say about this. So the first thing I want to say, and I've talked about this many times, let's get rid of this goofy mask, is when you come to my channel, when you go to my blog, when you go to my Twitter, my Instagram, any of my shit, you are seeing, for the most part, the highlight reels of my life. In other words, the high points, the best moments, right? I'm probably not going to share, hey guys, I woke up this morning and took a fat shit. You probably don't care. I'm probably not going to say, hey guys, today I'm just feeling a little bit lazy, so I'm just going to do one podcast and then I'm going to do nothing for the rest of the day. Although I have mentioned that in comments, in content, that's probably not going to be the majority of my content. Because why would you watch? That doesn't help you. That doesn't improve your life. That's not adding value. It's mundane and boring. I'm not a celebrity. I can't talk about the mundane and boring stuff, or I don't want to, even if I was a celebrity. So you're coming to me to see you're seeing the highlight reels when you look at my content. I want you guys to internalize that you're doing the same thing when you go to any YouTube channel, any Instagram, any Twitter, any celebrity shit. All of that shit is, for the most part, their highlight reels, the best moments from their life. To pull it back to me, or to focus on me personally, since you asked the question about me, right now, I am stressed as fuck about money. I have done so much content on this. I have literally done videos where I say, I'm fucking stressed about money. Right now, we owe like $100,000 to the tax department. I am in the process of giving more money to Cam, who is one of my coaches. I've just transitioned to having a video editor. I am now in the process of adding a couple more coaches to the program. I'm obviously paying all of Imogen's bills and all of my own bills because we both work on the business together. There's a lot of money stress. I've talked about it in content. I've also talked about it on my Spotify channel. If you're not checking that out, I talk about a lot of this stuff. But for the most part, I share my struggles a ton, and I have for the last 4 years. I've talked about my low points. I've talked about all the times I struggled to pay the bills. I have talked about my insecurities. I have an article called I Am Always Full of Doubt. I talk about how I'm not always great with time management. I talk about my self-medication. I've done videos on, porn and alcohol and some of the things that sap up some of my time. You just don't care. And that's not me criticizing you. That's the way our brain works. When I go to, say, Alex Hermosi's channel, someone that I'm currently learning from, I, for the most part, want to hear about his successes because I'm trying to be successful. And I really appreciate when he shares his struggles. And he is someone that is fairly open and does share some of that stuff. Not as much as maybe I have done, but he does quite a bit. And I've always appreciated that content because it helps me realize that he's human, I'm human too. But the thing that I'm looking for the most is the success. And you have to understand, when you come to my channel, when you come to anybody's channel that you follow, that you're trying to learn from, you want to see the success because you've built up this fantasy of who I am or who the person you're learning from is, because that fantasy helps motivate you. I did a podcast. You can just search on Spotify. It was called something like My Life Is Not That Glamorous or something like that. My Life Is Not That Amazing, something like that. And it was essentially me talking you through what a day in the life of me is like. And I've had this question multiple times where someone will come to me for like a coaching call, or they'll join the coaching program and they'll say something like, Andy, how many threesomes did you have this week? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been working on business, no threesomes. Like, I'm busy. And so you have this idea of what my day must be like. I must be going out and just having countless threesomes. I'm probably spending all day with Imogen, just staring into her eyes, and she's looking into mine, and we're saying, I love you, my life is perfect. And we do lots of that stuff. I'll make that very clear. But you have this idea of what my life is like based on the highlight reels that you've seen. You go to my website, you read all the threesome stuff, and you're like, oh wow, he must be having threesomes nonstop. Back at that point in my life, I was, Now my day is mostly consisting of working on the business, talking to Cam about the business, talking to Imogen about the business, going to my coaches and my mentors and stuff and saying, fuck, how can I be less stressed? How can I be more loving? How can I be more peaceful? Working on that, working on enlightenment, reading books, all of that. It's not this amazing, glamorous idea that you have likely built up. Any celebrity, the same thing. If you spend a day in the life of a celebrity, yes, their life may be a little bit more glamorous than yours. And maybe my life is more glamorous than yours, of course. I do have threesomes. The girl that we're seeing right now is coming over like an hour from now. So yes, we'll be having a threesome. But you have this idea that you've built up because it motivates you. Of course it does. The fantasy that you build up is Andy's life must be better than mine. I do the same thing. I look at Alex Hormozi, Dan Henry, any of these people that I look up to, and I say their life must be better isn't the right word, but that's the word that we use. It's a clumsy word that we humans use. Their life is less stressful, more exciting, like those kind of words. And for the most part, sure, that is true. But don't take that to the ultimate extreme and just sort of say like, Andy, because the question was, Andy, you make it look so easy. It's not that it's not easy. And this is orders of magnitude easier than where I was 5 or so years ago. And I will address the question in a second and actually give you tips on how to make it a little bit easier, how to balance these different aspects of your life and these different goals and stuff. But I say so much in my content, I'm not perfect. I literally say that fucking almost every video. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect at this. I will tell you something. I'll give you some advice. I'll say what I've done. And then I'll say, no, I'm not perfect. Even some of the things that I've had practice with for the last 5 or so years, I'll say, look, I'm not perfect at this. Honesty is a good one. I obviously push honesty and ethics and being kind to people and all of that. Almost every single time I talk about it, I will say, look, I'm not perfect with my honesty. I'm still practicing it too. We're all in this together, let's improve. I make that very clear. In quite a lot of my content, I literally say I'm a train wreck, especially when I'm talking about discipline and productivity and stuff. I'm not brilliant at those things. I am orders of magnitude better than where I was in the past, but I'm not perfect. And that's kind of going to be my answer here, or part of my answer to you is stop focusing on perfection and just focus on little daily improvements every single day. We'll talk about that in a second, but part of that is really giving yourself permission to suck, which is one of my core principles, one of the things I talk about all the time. Another tip that you can do is to say, can I just be 1% of Andy? I just released a short on my channel a couple of days ago called Can You Be 1% of Me? And in that, I gave you the tip, and I've used this myself, where I'll look at someone that I think has their shit together. Your question here was essentially, Andy, it looks like you have your shit together and I don't feel good about that. That's kind of the implied, extra part of your question. Ask yourself, can I just do 1% of what Andy has done? So at this point, I've probably had 100 threesomes. If we count, okay, it's going to be way more than that if we count repeat, with the same woman. So I've had over 100 threesomes. Can you have one threesome? Yes, I believe every man on this planet, if he wants to, if it's something that he would like to do, can have a threesome. No exceptions to that. You might have to improve yourself. You might have to get your shit together. You might have to do some stuff. You might have to go talk to a lot of women. You might get rejected a little bit. All of that kind of stuff. It might take a while. It might take months. It might take years, depending on where you're at with your self-improvement. But every man on the planet, I believe, can have a threesome. So you can do 1% of what I've done. I look at the people that I look up to, like Alex Hormozi, Dan Henry, and all of that, and they've earned millions of dollars. And I say, in my lifetime, can I do 1% of what they've done? Can I earn $1 million? It's like, well, yeah, I can definitely do that. Okay, I'm just going to get to work and do 1% of what they've done. So that's kind of a cheat there. Another thing to think is, okay, let's answer the actual fucking question. And again, the question was, how do you balance work you love, happy relationship, and self-improvement? And there's other things I'm balancing in there as well. It's not just those three things to kind of make your point even stronger. You have to understand, I have worked on my self-improvement. At this point, if we include me working through my depression, it's been 13, 14, 15 years. If we just count the time from when I was, working on my sex and dating life, then it's been 8 years, right? So a long fucking time I've been working on my self-improvement, my mental health, my happiness, and all of that. Me being happy and achieving goals, I've been working on that for 13, 14, 15 years. That's a long fucking time. And the way that I did that was one goal at a time. This question, anytime I get this question where someone says, how do you balance? And then you've listed different goals. What the fuck is balance? That's my initial answer. It's like, why the fuck do you need to balance? No, just do one thing at a time. And so the first thing I ever did was weight loss. And I went all in on that and focused on that. The next thing I did was I worked on my sex life. And obviously self-improvement was part of that. And I went all in on that. And I did that for several years. And then I focused on dating, as in just seeing these girls still casually, but can I see if they will stick around for longer? Can I date them, essentially? Then relationships, obviously with Imogen, but there was a girl before that as well that I dated for about a year and a half in a relationship. And I obviously had 2 relationships, when I was younger. Then I went all in on business, 100% all in on business. I'm still in that phase right now of business, and it is 100% of my mental energy. And so you say, like, how do you balance? The way you balance is you go all in on one goal, you achieve what you want to achieve, you make massive progress, you make it more efficient, and then you get it to a point where it's kind of a background goal. Like, let's pick sex right now. I don't have to do anything to still have a sex life. My girlfriend and I can have sex whenever the fuck we want, and we do. There is a girl that we are seeing right now, ongoing, that we've been seeing for, I can't even remember, like nine months or something. Maybe it's not that long, like 7 months, something like that. Actually, it might be 9 months. And she will see us whenever we want to see her, as long as all of our schedules line up. And so we get to have threesomes whenever we want. At any point in time, and sometimes I do say this, I can say to Imogen, hey, go on Tinder, and she also runs my Tinder as well. I can say, go on your Tinder or my Tinder, and let's meet a girl. And she will do that. And so I don't really have to do anything for sex. It just kind of happens. And so, this question was, and I understand the question. It's a great fucking question. I want to make that clear. How do you balance these different things? You don't need to balance. You get them all. At least for me, the goal was always to get them super fucking efficient so they can be what I call a background goal. They kind of just happen in the background without you doing anything. Like, my sex life continues now with me doing nothing. And if Imogen and I broke up and this girl that we're seeing stopped seeing us, then sure, you might have to put in a little bit of effort for a couple of weeks, but I could have sex within a week. I could have sex within a day if I really went all in with it, but without even really trying too much, I could have sex again within a week. I could have 3 women in my life within 2 or 3 weeks without much effort. If it was my number one goal, I could do it in a day if I really wanted to. And, dating, let's talk about that. Obviously, I put a ton of effort into the relationship with Imogen, but we've built it into this very efficient thing. We have a whole bunch of support networks around us. We have coaches. She has several counselors. She has like a health, mentor. She has like a mental health, coach. Like, we've got all of these resources in place. We also, once a week, every Monday, go for a big walk or go on a road trip or do an adventure, and we do like an accountability or like a relationship check-in. I've done videos on that on my channel, so you can just search for the word relationship check-in, and we just talk about how the relationship is going. We talk about what we want to improve, what's going well, what we're grateful for, all of that kind of stuff, and that is fun, and that takes like 0 effort because it's something that we've done for the last 4 years, 3 years. We just do it every single Monday. It's like brushing your teeth. And so the relationship doesn't take anywhere near as much effort as you think. You said, how do you balance self-improvement? I've been doing self-improvement for like I said, 13, 14, 15 years at this point. I can't imagine waking up and not working on self-improvement and not improving myself. It's just such a core part of who I am. It's like brushing your teeth. And so it doesn't take any work. It just happens. It's fun. It's like a fucking hobby. And so if I was to say to you, let's pick 3 hobbies that any of you might have. Maybe you like basketball, volleyball, and watching movies with your mates. Imagine if I said to you, how do you balance basketball and volleyball and watching movies with your mates? How do you balance that? You'd go, what are you talking about? But I like doing those things, but there's no balance. And so the point, at least for me, has always been to get each one of these goals that I have. And there are plenty more goals that I have. Business is one of them, peace and enlightenment, happiness, joy, love, all of those kind of things, giving back to the world. All of those things, there's not really a need to balance them. You just go all in with one thing at a time. I'll make that very clear. That's what I did. It's what I get all of my coaching clients to do. It's what I recommend all of you do. Pick a goal, go all in with it, commit to it 100% for the months or maybe the years that it might take to get really proficient at it and make it really, really, really efficient. And then it becomes like this background goal. And then you work on the next goal and you go all in with that, do a good job, stick that as a background goal, then the next goal. And so you don't really need a balance. I've always been very like obsessed with one goal at a time. Like I said, right now my obsession is business and a little bit of peace and happiness and love in that as well. But for the most part, it's like paying off this fucking tax debt. And so go all in with that shit. Another thing that I can say is stop looking at the mountain. And when I say mountain, I did a video on this, so you can just search my channel for the word mountain. When I say mountain, I'm talking about your goals or all of the goals that you have. We often build all of our goals up and we see it as this big mountain that we have to climb, and we look up at the top and we get overwhelmed. And that's kind of what you're doing here. You're saying, fuck, how do I balance all of this? The fact that you even ask the question of how do I balance this tells me that you're thinking of too many things at once. Because if you're just all in with one thing, you're not thinking about balance. You're just going, let me go all in with this one goal. And so again, to get to this point, in your question of, because you're asking me specifically, Andy, I'm balancing work that I love, happy relationship, and self-improvement. And there's a bunch of other shit in there, like I said as well. There isn't really a fucking balance. Like I said, work is super efficient. It doesn't take me that much effort to sit down and do a podcast for you guys or do a YouTube video. It really doesn't. I now have an editor. I understand the process of recording. I can do fancy shit like this. Look, I'm full screen. Oh, now I'm this. Oh, look, I can put text on the screen. I can do all this fucking shit because I've practiced this. I've gotten this pretty damn efficient. I don't edit these videos anymore, so it's even more efficient. In terms of my actual coaching, which is, more part of the business, because that's obviously how I make the money, Cam does a tremendous fucking job of answering every single person's question in our coaching group, and then I come in there and add extra shit on top. We also, like I said, have promoted 2 guys to coaches, to like mini coaches, and they also give a fuck ton of advice in the coaching program. And then when we do the weekly group coaching calls, we're now alternating between Cam and I. What we do is we're both there on every call, obviously. I'm giving advice, I'm coaching on every call, but one week Cam will take the lead, and so he will say, okay, this person's going next. Okay, who has the next question? Okay, who does this? And he'll kind of take the lead, and so I can kind of like, I'm still there. I'm still obviously giving advice and, you're very present and all of that. But it takes 10% of the load off me because Cam's doing it. I'm also training him up to take on the $200 coaching calls that I've been doing with you guys. So by the way, if you want one of those, I would sign up soon. Like I would fucking do that now because I don't know, 3 months from now, I won't be doing them anymore. Cam will be doing them. And I will make a video announcing that because right now, obviously, if you pay for those $200 calls, you're expecting to get me. So I will take down that old video. We'll make a new one. Don't stress about that. But the point is, I'm making the business much more efficient. Imogen does all of my emails. She does all of my tax. We have this really great tax accountant. We have a lawyer for the business if we need one. Like all of that kind of stuff. We've made it as efficient as possible. And so again, to your question, like how can you balance all this shit? By just making it as efficient as possible and doing one thing at a time. Stop looking at that big mountain that you have to climb of all of your combined goals, because that mountain is scary. If I sit here and say, how can I balance all of the future goals that I have? I'll get overwhelmed. So one goal at a time, make it very, very, very efficient. Just take a baby step every single day over a long enough period of time. Make sure you're thinking in terms of years, not just like weeks. With most of these goals, like for me to lose weight took me 9 months. For me to get good with my sex life took me 3 years, maybe 4 years. For me to get good at dating took me another 2 years. And I was doing dating at the same time as sex, obviously. To get good at relationships, there's still a hell of a lot Imogen and I are working on, but I'd say we're pretty good now. And so I'd say we got decent at relationships after 4 years. It took us probably 4 years. And this hasn't been, a perfect relationship. We've done content on that and stuff like that. So you don't have to be perfect with any of this shit. In terms of business, I've been working on this for 4 years. At the same time as the relationship, obviously. But yeah, you make this shit as efficient as you can. You take one baby step every day. You think long term. But yeah, great question, dude. I really like this question. Cannon Fodder 4305. Good fucking question. This is a question that comes up so much in my coaching program too, because the guys are obviously working on lots of big goals and they go, how do I balance sex and also business and also self-improvement? And I say like, no, pick one as your main priority and we will go all in with that. And that doesn't mean you completely and utterly fucking neglect the rest of them, but maybe you spend 90% of your time on your main goal and then 10% of the time on your other goals. So go all in with one goal at a time, achieve big things, make it efficient, and then move on to the next goal. That's all I've ever done for the last 13, 14, 15 years. All right, the next question we are going to answer, I'm going to skip around a little bit because I want to answer this one next by YNKNO, and I always pronounce that as what do you think about PE or penis enhancement? He's talking about male enhancement. So I really like this question. I have a lot to talk about on this. I have used the Bathmate. I actually brought it here so you can see it. So the Bathmate is just this penis pump. You stick this on your penis. It's got a nice little pump thing that you attach and you kind of squeeze that. I've also used the Phallosan Forte, which is you stick it on your penis and it basically like stretches. You gently stretch out your penis. So this one, the Bathmate, is more for girth. The Phallosan Forte is more for length. Now, here's where the information gets interesting. I was never consistent with them, and my understanding is if you can be consistent with them, you will see long-term results. I myself could just never really be bothered, and I did try. I had many, many months in a row where I was able to be consistent, but I could never be bothered using them like this one. You know, a lot of people recommend you use it 5 days a week for about 20 minutes per session. And that has to be in the shower, and there's other things that you have to do. I found that I have to keep my pubic hair very trimmed. Otherwise, like this part of it down the bottom, like won't get any suction. And so I had to be trimming my pubic hair like multiple times a week, like very, very, very trimmed, not just like a little trim, like it had to be basically shaved. And then I felt that I was getting like rashes, like stubble rash, and it was uncomfortable for the girls because when you shave it very thin or very like short, it gets a little prickly and it kind of stabs when you're having sex. And so there are a lot of things that I needed to do, as well as the Phallosan Forte, the thing that stretches your penis. I didn't find that very comfortable no matter what I did. I tried a million different tricks. Trust me when I say I researched so many forums and underground things. I'm someone that is uncircumcised, so I have foreskin. And all of the blogs and forums and everything that I read, and even Phallosan Forte themselves, say if you're circumcised, it might not work as well. Sorry, if you're uncircumcised, it might not work as well. So adding in all those caveats. Now, the thing that I did find the Bathmate cool for, and I have an article on my website talking about this, is using it just before sex. So I never used any of these penis enhancement tools for like long-term length or girth gains. I used the Bathmate before sex to make my dick a little bit thicker. It isn't something that I do anymore. I haven't done it for like, if I'm honest, like 2 years or something. I don't even know why I fucking still have this thing. It's a good talking point whenever girls use my shower. I guess they're like, what is that? And I'm like, try and guess what it is. And they can never guess what it is. They always guess weird shit. They're like, is it a dildo? And I'm like, it's not a fucking dildo, sweetheart, no. And some of them think that you put it over your penis and then you have sex with her. Like, you put... But, yeah, so I got a lot to say about this. I can see... other people have told me, and bear in mind, I don't have any proof of this, but other people that I trust have told me, do your own research, that if you do it long enough, as in for like 2 years, 5 days a week, for 20 minutes per session, that you can get permanent like length and girth gains. I've never done that. Your mileage may vary. I'm not even saying that I, recommend that you do it. Do whatever you want to do. I, however, would just add the little caveat of make sure you're doing it with a healthy mindset. I think a lot of guys, when they focus on like penis enhancement, like making their dick bigger or thicker or longer or whatever, you're doing it because you're insecure. And there's a part of you that thinks, if I fix this, then I will be secure. I will tell you right now, no, that rabbit hole doesn't lead to peace and happiness and self-love and acceptance, self-acceptance. It just leads to more insecurity. And I've seen this a lot where someone will work, and women go through the same shit. You'll focus on body parts, or you'll focus on like some part of you, and you'll improve that thing thinking that this will bring you ultimate happiness and peace and be perfect. Now, I'll make it very clear, it will make you a little happier, or it might make you a little bit happier. That's what self-improvement is for. But I'm saying don't get into this thinking, if I just had a bigger dick, all of my problems would be solved, and I'd be great with women, and I'd be super happy, and I'd be self-loving, and I'd feel good in the bedroom, and I'd be confident. For some guys, that might be true. Like, it might make you orders of magnitude more comfortable and more confident if your penis is just longer or thicker. Yes. But for a lot of you, and for a lot of us, you'll focus on that, you'll improve that, and you'll go, wow, I haven't actually addressed the thing that was causing me insecurity, which is, a lot of the time, I just haven't had a lot of experience with women. Experience is the biggest thing that improves your confidence. It really does, because more than anything, you'll see, okay, I'm more than just my penis. My penis isn't the only thing that comes into the bedroom. My penis isn't the only tool that I have, or the only thing that I have, or the only part of me that I have that can pleasure a woman or have a great experience or feel pleasure yourself. There are other parts of your body. There are other things you can do. You know, your fingers, your mouth, your words, toys, connecting with another human being, all of that. All of these things that don't necessarily just involve your dick. One of my favorite pieces of advice that I give for guys that have like performance anxiety, as in, you know, they're worried that they'll, you know, not be able to perform, or that their dick will be soft and not hard during sex and all of that. One of my favorite pieces of advice is don't focus on your dick at all. Like, literally pretend your dick is not in the picture. Use your fingers, use your hands, use your mouth, use your words, use toys, you know, go really slow, have tantric sex, like all of that kind of stuff. Practice your sexual skills, all of that, but don't use your dick. Because I think as guys, we tend to hyper focus on our penis. And if you ask any particular woman, or if you ask every woman, how much do you care about the penis, as opposed to like connecting with the guy, his fingers, his mouth, foreplay, all of that other stuff, sex toys, maybe a little bit of BDSM if you're into that. How much do you care about all that other stuff? Every woman that I've ever asked that question says, yeah, the penis is nice and I love sex, but like, I don't know, it's like 20-30% of the sex. And I think as guys, we think it's 100% of the sex, at least when we're inexperienced. We think the penis is the only thing that matters. We measure ourselves by our penis. Could you imagine, and plenty of women do this, but could you imagine judging a woman completely and only on her bra size, her cup size? And she's a B cup and you're like, oh no, you're just not as good a human being as a D cup. It's like, no, for us, it doesn't really work that way. There are plenty of guys that fetishize. I'm one of them that like smaller breasts. My favorite cup size, if I'm just going to fucking pick one, is like B cups. I love A cups too. I love small titties. I love big titties too. That's the point. Everyone is a unique fucking human being. And I think when we hyper focus on one thing, if we were to just hyper focus on a woman's bra size and nothing else about her, doesn't matter her booty, doesn't matter her personality, doesn't matter how feminine she is, doesn't matter how sexual she is, doesn't matter how cool she is, how interesting, how funny, none of that matters. Doesn't matter how she dresses. Imagine if you only focused on her bra size, like that one fucking tiny aspect of her. And so that's what you're essentially doing, or what we can fall into the, you know, down the rabbit hole of doing when we get into penis enhancement or male enhancement. Often we hyper focus on the length or the girth of our dick, and we forget that there are so many other options literally at our fingertips of pleasuring a woman, of having a good time, of connecting. And so if you are going to get into penis enhancement, think of it in the same way that you would think of like whitening your teeth. You wouldn't measure your self-worth by how white your fucking teeth are, would you? You would just see your teeth whitening as like, oh, this is one thing that's going to improve me. I will be slightly more attractive if I improve this. And so, would having a longer and thicker penis be more attractive to women? For most of them, yes. But see it the same way that you see teeth whitening, as like, this is just a self-improvement task that I'm going about. It will help me maybe 5%, maybe 10%. It might make you more confident, so maybe it helps you 20%. But the thing that will help you 100% is those acts of self-love that I talk about a lot. Doing the mirror therapy that I talk about a lot. Writing a list of 50 things that are likable about yourself, or 50 things that you have to offer women that don't involve your penis, so that you literally have evidence right there in front of you. You write that fucking list. You have evidence. Oh shit, there's more to me than just my penis. And so now when you go into male enhancement or penis enhancement, you have the right mindset. You're sitting there thinking, this is going to enhance me. This isn't going to fix me. In other words, I'm not broken. And that's kind of the trick of self-improvement, where literally saying, I want to be better, but you want to balance that with saying, or you want to have the mindset of, that doesn't mean I'm broken. In other words, and this is the mindset, I am okay as I am right now. I am beautiful as I am right now. And I want to be a little bit better, or I want to be a little bit more advanced. I want to be a little bit further along. I want to be a little cooler, whatever it might be. I'm great as I am. I'm wonderful as I am. I'd like a little bit more, please. So self-improvement is not self-fixing. That's why I say the word self-improvement. You're improving. You're not fixing. You're not broken. You're great as you are. Your dick is great as it is. You want to make it a little bit better. You're a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker. All right, so this next question, I love this question so much. Something I've struggled with for a long time is not really having a clear purpose in life. I saw people who knew at 7 years old they wanted to be doctors, become doctors and love it, while I just sort of live on without that kind of vision. Yeah, you and me both, brother. It took me 31 years, 32 years to realize that I like helping people. So what can one do to figure that out? And is it just try shit and see what sticks? Is that really the only answer? Yes. I know it's not maybe a glamorous answer, but to give you a better, more in-depth answer, I did this podcast. So go onto Spotify and just search my Spotify podcast for this. Just search for the word purpose and you'll find this. What is my purpose? Your personal vision for your life. And what I talked about in this podcast is how to find a purpose when you don't know what your purpose is. And the advice that I gave is exactly what you said. It's like, you're just going to have to try a bunch of stuff and see what works. And I see a lot of people that come to me with this question, right? Where they're like, I want to start a business, but I have no fucking idea what I want to do. Or I really want to be as passionate about my goals as maybe Andy or some of the other people that I see on his channel are, but I don't even know what my goals are. How can I be passionate about something when I don't know what it is? The answer is humility. Be humble. Say, okay, I don't know what my goal is. I don't know what my passion is. I don't have a passion. That's okay. I'm just, figuring this shit out. Like I said 4 years ago, I had no idea what my passion was. I completely understand with this mindset of like, you see other people that just, they know what they want to be. They want to be a basketballer from age like 5 and they make it. Or like you said, the doctor one. I want to become a doctor. They do it. They love it. I had a friend who wanted to become a surgeon. She just always knew she wanted to become a surgeon. And she went through all of high school knowing that. She went through university. She did like her master's degree and all of that. She then went to the hospital for, however many fucking years you have to do that. And then she became a surgeon. She's like, this is great. This is everything I always wanted to do. The girl that we're dating and seeing right now, not always, but for a while, she's wanted to be a nurse. And she got into it. She's now a nurse. She's been doing it for 5 months at this point, I think. And she just fucking loves it. And you look at her and you're like, holy shit, this woman's found her purpose. She's really good at loving other people. She's very empathetic. She's unbelievably kind. She's very sweet. She wants to help and mentor other people. She wants to help people with their mental health. She seems to really enjoy this thing. She's found her calling, so to speak. Often we look at that and you're only looking, that's almost called survivorship bias. It's similar to that. It's where you're looking at the people who've found their purpose, the people who've like made it, so to speak, and you're not looking at all the other people who haven't. The vast majority of human beings go through life without finding their clear purpose. Now, that doesn't mean you won't. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying the vast majority of people out there don't have a clear purpose right now. They just kind of go to a fucking job that they maybe like. Think about this. Think about almost every single person who works in hospitality, retail, corporate, like just office jobs, government, what other sectors? We can probably just pick a whole bunch of sectors. And the majority of people at those jobs, that's not their passion. Like, it's just not their passion. It's a job that's paying the bills. There's nothing wrong with those jobs. I've worked retail most of my life. I've worked in warehouses. I've done manual labor. I've done lots of these kind of jobs. I loved those fucking jobs, but they weren't my passion. They were just something I was doing to, pay the bills. And so think about how many people work in those industries. In fact, those are the biggest industries, right? Retail is the biggest industry, I think. Especially if you then add hospitality, like cafes, restaurants, bars, all of that. Lump all that together. That's the biggest fucking workforce, the biggest work sector. The vast majority of those people, let's just make up a number, 90% of those people are probably not, that's not their purpose. They're just working it so they can pay the fucking bills and keep the lights on and not be stressed. And so it's not just you, but you're just looking at the people who have found their purpose and you're comparing yourself to them. To bring it back to the actual answer, yes, the answer is just try a bunch of shit and see what you like. It's what I said in that podcast that I just showed you. Again, just search my Spotify channel for the word purpose and you'll see that. You'll hear that podcast. Try a bunch of stuff and maybe don't put all this pressure on yourself to find the answer. Like, I was not unhappy aged 20. When did I start my self-improvement? Like 23? I had moments of unhappiness, definitely, because I was in that relationship. But like, there were lots of moments of happiness, right? And I didn't have a purpose. I just tried a bunch of shit and see what I liked. And so you don't have to be unhappy just because you haven't found your purpose. Another way to think about that is don't put all of your happiness on the purpose. In other words, don't say, I will only be happy when I find this purpose. Or if I could just find this purpose, all of my problems would be solved and I'd be perfectly happy. That might not be the case. Plenty of people find their purpose and then they just turn it into a grind and they're not happy there. So I would see happiness and a purpose as two distinct things. And I do not believe that you need a purpose to be happy. I don't. I think purpose is a very easy way to be happy. but it doesn't just immediately fix all your problems. I think you can be happy while you figure out a purpose. And even if you spend the rest of your life and you try a bunch of shit, you try like 100 different things and none of them are your purpose, and you're there on your deathbed at 80 and you go, and fuck, I never found my purpose. I don't think you're going to be unhappy with that. I think you're going to look back at your life and go, wow, I lived an amazing life. Like, watch the movie Forrest Gump. That's a man who doesn't have a clear purpose. He just tries a whole bunch of fucking shit. That's the point of the movie. And so I think you would get to 80, having tried hundreds of different things. You'd look back and go, wow, I lived like a life that's cooler than most people. I tried 100 different things. Holy shit, I did like so much stuff. I also did an article that's very related to this topic. It's on my website. You can just go to killyourinaloser.com and search for the word hats. And this article is called Life is a Process of Trying on Different Hats. And I talked about all of the different things that I tried. This is an article essentially about purpose and passions. You know, this is a photo that I did from my 365. At a point, I was a photographer. I still technically take photos now, but I was the photographer. And so I list out just some of the things that I've been. You know, the guy who gets laid, that was me for a while. The social butterfly, that was me before the getting laid phase. Mentor, BDSM connoisseur, threesome guy, manager, supervisor, rock climber. Yeah, I went through a rock climbing phase. Geocacher, I don't even think I listed geocacher on here, but I went through a geocaching phase. You know, Photoshop guy, computer programmer. I was a fucking programmer for a while. Comedian. I was a musician. I literally made music. You know, I was a writer. I don't really write as much anymore. Like, yeah, Paul Tyler Label. I've gone through all these different things, and there's like plenty more that I haven't even listed here. And the point of that article is to show you that the way I see life, it's just, I don't see it as you're necessarily going to find some big overarching purpose that will last you for the rest of your life. Like, I right now love helping people. I cannot promise you that I will be doing YouTube videos 30 years from now. I don't know if this is my passion. I can't promise you that I'll be doing coaching. In fact, I don't think I will. I love coaching, but I've mentioned many times I plan on getting out of coaching and having Cam do the coaching, and I will just do content like this and write ebooks and stuff like that. I don't know what my purpose will be 20 years from now. The difference between me and you, or maybe me and anyone else who's struggling to find their purpose, is you're putting all this pressure on yourself that you have to find your purpose. In other words, you're saying something's wrong with you because you haven't found your purpose. I don't. I'm just okay with having a purpose for right now. That's kind of what I said in that Spotify podcast about finding your purpose. I said, can you just find a purpose for right now? Can you find a purpose for the next month? And every single person on the planet can find a purpose for the next month. Even if you're completely lost and you have no idea what you want to do, you could just try some random purposes, like you're trying on different hats. You're just putting on a hat. Does that fit? Do I like that hat? Take it off, try a different hat. Take that one off, try a different hat. Find a purpose for the next month. That could be helping people. That could be self-improvement. That could be losing weight. That could be starting a YouTube channel. That could be painting, learning to dance. That could be learning to get good with the opposite sex. It could be literally anything. And the point is, it really doesn't fucking matter. And what I've found is, for those of us who don't have a clear purpose, like I didn't have a clear purpose. It's part of why I was depressed, because I just felt fucking lost and I put all this pressure on myself to have a purpose. For those of us who don't know what our purpose is, it's going to blow your fucking mind. And I can say this from having tried so many different hobbies and different things, and then clicking with some of them and just going, holy fuck, I love this. It's going to blow your mind that you will try a whole bunch of random shit, and some of it will just stick that you never would have guessed. I, as probably the best example, am someone that has an incredible fear of heights. I am so unbelievably scared of heights to the point where I shake if I'm even on like the second floor or the third floor. Where we live right now in this building, we're on the second floor. Perfect. But even when I look down, I'm like, oh, okay. Even though I know if I fell, I'd just break my leg. I wouldn't die. But I have this fucking fear. Let alone when I go up onto like the 20th story of a building, I'm like, holy fuck, I can't do this. This is insane. Yet, do you know what I clicked with and really connected with? And it was a purpose for me for about a year and a half. Rock climbing. Stop and think about that for a second. That is the last thing on the planet that I ever thought I would enjoy. And the first time I went up the rock wall, I was like fucking shaking. And I was looking down and I was like, oh God, I'm going to die. I'm going to fucking die. Oh my God. And when I got to the top, I looked down and I was like, holy fuck. Look what I just did. Look at the fear I just conquered. And I'm like sweaty and and it was like the most beginner course ever, beginner path ever. And I fucking did it. And I was obsessed with rock climbing for like a year and a half. I never would have thought that I would enjoy that. And so if you just go out and try a whole bunch of shit that you know, you think might sound semi-cool, It's going to blow your mind that some of that shit you will really click with and you will love and it will become a passion. And now, as I said in that article about life is a process of trying on different hats, I don't really rock climb anymore. I've moved on to the next purpose. And so again, I don't think you need to find a life purpose. You also don't have you don't have a crystal ball. And so you don't know the entirety of, the doctor person that you used as an example. What if 20 years from now, they wake up and they say, I fucking hate being a doctor. And then you go, oh my God, but I thought that was your purpose. No, it was just their purpose for that moment in time. We don't have the entire map of that person's future or your own future. You don't know that that's their purpose. You've just labeled it as such because right now it seems like their purpose. So take a step back a little bit. Don't look at the entirety of their life or your life. Just say, can I find a purpose for right now, this moment in time? And that can require humility because the ego part of you, the ego part of us, wants to have an answer for the entire future because it sounds good. It sounds fucking sexy to say I'm a doctor. And I've always known that I wanted to be a doctor. I've always known that I was going to be an Olympic gold medalist, and now I've done it. That sounds fucking cool. That sounds cool as shit. But that isn't you. That isn't your path. So humble yourself enough to take the ego out of it and say, okay, fine, like, I'm not going to get that sexy story, but maybe I can just be the humble guy who's just going to try some shit. And everybody else, and it's not everybody else, like I said, the vast majority of people don't have a fucking purpose in life. That's why they self-medicate. Why the fuck do you think almost everybody drinks at least once a week, if not every couple of days? Does that not strike you as, holy fuck, that's self-medication? Almost everybody goes onto social media. Almost everybody looks at porn. Okay, maybe not everyone on porn, but like a lot of people. A lot of people, I will say 99% of the population self-medicates. I do too. Let's be very clear about that. But the vast majority of the population self-medicates daily because they're trying to run away from the fact that they don't know why they're here. They've never thought about it. They don't have a purpose. You are thinking about it. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. But just bring it back down a little bit and say, what if I just have my purpose for right now? Can you do that? Another way to think about that is if I say to you, what is your purpose for life? You get overwhelmed and go, fucking Jesus Christ, man, I don't know the answer to that. Oh my God, like, is there something wrong with me? How can I even answer that? But if I say to you, can you find your purpose for today or this week or this month? And no bigger than that. Don't think longer than a month. Can you find a purpose for this month? Can you just find a focus for this month? You would answer like, well, yeah, I can do that. Okay, do that. In other words, you're just thinking too big. You're thinking too grand. That's what the ego does. That's what our ego does. We want to be able to map out the rest of our life. Part of what the ego wants to do is be able to control the rest of our life because that's safety. That's not even a bad thing. That's beautiful. That's us trying to have safety, right? If I could just be a doctor and that was my purpose, I would know that I could be happy. That's what your question is essentially saying. And it's like, well, you can't do that. So just try and be happy for the next month. And then be happy for the month after that. And take each month as it comes. Or take each week as it comes. Hell, take each fucking day as it comes. Say, what is my purpose for today? I'll just focus on that. That's humility. That's how we build great things. That's how I've built everything I've built so far and how I'm going to continue building it. Just focusing on one day at a time. I've never really put pressure on myself that I have to have this big grand scope. Could you imagine if I sat here and said to myself, I need to change the world? That would fucking overwhelm me. That would stress me the fuck out. And if you listen to the way that I phrase it, I say, I want to leave the world just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit better than I found it. I want to just make it a tiny bit better. Because that doesn't overwhelm me. I can do that. But if I sit there and think these grand scopes of like, I have to think about my purpose. I have to have a clear vision for my content. I have to know where I'm going. I have to know what this community is. I have to know how I can help everybody. I have to know how to expand and scale up and build up my YouTube following and help as many people as possible. I'd get fucking stressed. Purpose stresses me out too. It's not just you. So I bring it back down. I focus on today and maybe this week and what I'm going to do. And that's about as far as I ever look ahead. All right, let's answer one more question, and I will answer the rest of them in a separate video. I'm going to split them up because I got to go in a little bit. So this last one, I really love this question. I love this so much. So Second Mew 7081. Also, why do all you guys have such like crazy usernames? Like Matteo Marchetti 411. Guys, just Cannon Fodder 4. Just have a fucking, there you go. That's a good username. Action Savage. We can say that. That's easy. You know, that's a good one. Dark Mental Master. That's a good one. Dreamstrat, a good one. You guys with like the long fucking usernames, like. So anyway, Second Mew 7081 says, is there any advice you've given in previous videos or articles that your opinion has since changed on and you wouldn't give today? Oh man, I fucking love this question. This question got me rock fucking hard. So I semi-answered it. I do this. You guys will know when I love a question because I'll answer it before I actually sit down to do this Q&A. So I referenced this video, and look at that gorgeous face. What the fuck am I doing? I don't even know what that shit is. I apologize for that, guys. That's fucked. But the video is called Be a Hypocrite and Be Humble. So just search my YouTube channel for the word hypocrite. And in this video, I talked about, you have to understand at this point, I've done 1,500 bits of content, and I've been doing it for like 4 years. And as someone that is heavily into self-improvement, I am constantly learning, growing, all of that kind of stuff. It would be insane, like stop and think about it for a second. It would actually be insane if I still had the opinions of like 4 years ago. Like if they hadn't grown a little bit or developed or added a little more nuance, or maybe I'd add extra context to them. It would be insane. If all of my opinions were exactly the same as they were 4 years ago, wouldn't you then question the validity of my self-improvement? Wouldn't you sort of say like, bro, are you even like self-improving? All of your opinions are exactly how they were 4 years ago. That is why at this point in time today, I try and be as humble as I can. I am not perfect with that, but I try and as best as I can put myself in the position of the student rather than the teacher. If you hear the way that I talk these days, I use a lot more language, like I will say, this is what has worked for me. This is what I do. You try it yourself and it might work for you or it might not. I'm much more nuanced with the advice I give. Whereas if you go back 4 years ago and read some of my old articles, I was like, you should do this. You must do this. Here's why you need to do this. I use the word should a lot. And I've done videos on why I don't like the word should anymore and why I don't use the word should. I never tell you what to do. That's something that I talk about a lot now. But in the past, I was kind of telling you more what to do. And so that's probably the biggest fucking change. In terms of like just general opinions, is there anything that I said 4 years ago that I completely disagree with now? In other words, is there anything where I've gone back and like deleted content or gone like, whoa, holy shit, this is just like, no. And now part of the reason why is not because all of my opinions from 4 years ago were like perfect or some shit like that. I'm a fan of leaving like a trail, like I said, so you can see my self-improvement path, so you can go back. And I've had several coaching clients that have said to me, dude, I went back like and read your old shit and like, holy crap. Even Imogen has said that to me too. When she's like shared some of my old content on like Reddit or forums and stuff like that, when she's done like the marketing, she'll say, holy crap, honey, like the way you used to talk, I forgot that you used to talk like that. You're so much more like open now. You're less egotistical. You're less sure of things. And when I say less sure, I mean like less forceful of your opinion. Now you're just like, hey, this is my opinion. If you don't like it, namaste. That's beautiful. I love that. We can have different opinions. Where she's like, 4 years ago, you were just like, your opinion is correct. And here's why, the opinion is correct. So that's probably the biggest change. In terms of like, okay, I can answer this question. I can give stuff that maybe my opinion, it's not that it's fully changed. There's more context. So I definitely 4 years ago pushed, and I never said it like you have to, but I talked a lot about getting laid, like a lot about that. And these days I would not push someone to necessarily just rack up a big lay count. So that's probably the biggest. And again, it's never that I said before, you must have a big lay count. In fact, I had a lot of articles, even in the early days. Like I wrote one that was called, don't compare your lay count to mine. And I specifically said, don't think that you need to go out and sleep with like 200, 300 women like I have and think that that will make you happy. Like there's reasons why my lay count was that high. At the start, I was self-medicating. I was chasing a high. I was just trying to get notches. It maybe wasn't the most loving way of doing it, like loving towards myself and loving towards them. There are more honest, ethical ways of doing it, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I think the focus, or the very like narrow-minded focus that I had on getting laid in the early days, and that's just because that's what I cared about at that point in time. So it's not that it was wrong, but that was my main focus. I think now, having gotten a little further along, I've zoomed out a little bit and I can see the bigger picture. And I'm like, look, if you want to get laid a lot and have a lot of sex, beautiful. Do it in an honest, ethical way. Do it in a way that adds value to the women that you sleep with. Don't just try and rack up a bunch of notches. And I would definitely advise not lying and being very honest and, do all that kind of stuff. But I zoom out a little bit and I say, look, having a lot of sex is wonderful. Relationships are also wonderful. Business is wonderful. Self-love is wonderful. Enlightenment is wonderful. So I think it's more just like it's like there's more pieces of the puzzle that I now have. I filled in more of the picture. So I don't think it's wrong per se. I wouldn't disagree with that old opinion, but maybe here's how I'd phrase it. If some guy came to me and said, Andy, do you think that I should sleep with 50 women to be happy? In the past, I probably would have said like, yeah, just do it, man. And even if it doesn't make you happy, at least you'll like gain a lot of knowledge and all of that. Now my advice would be a little bit more nuanced. I would say, look, I probably wouldn't seek happiness out of 50 people, like 50 strangers. I would probably work on your own self-love and stuff. Now, go and have sex because it's a wonderful, intimate, beautiful thing. Go and date, go and make friends, go and connect to other human beings. But I wouldn't seek that happiness in other people. I'd have a more like sort of stoic answer there. I'd say focus on your own stoicism, like focus on your self-love, focus on you giving yourself the thing that you're trying to get from other people. So, again, it's not that I think my old opinion, like I would disagree with it. It's more that I just add extra context. Whereas back then I was just like, yeah, go have sex. Sex is great. Just go do it. And I did have quite a few people that came to me for coaching, went out and had a bunch of sex, and they said, okay, that definitely made me a better human being. It definitely helped me. But like, I don't feel like I love myself still, or I don't feel fully happy. And then I had to figure out like, fuck, how do I actually work on their self-love? How do I help them with that? How do I help them connect to themselves? Because they've just gone out and connected to a bunch of strangers, but they haven't actually internalized some of that self-love and that connection and that intimacy and all of that shit. So yeah, I might let me pause the video for half a second and have a think about if there's anything else where I think my opinion has changed. Okay. So this isn't necessarily like changed. Again, it's just more context. I guess you could say it is changed, but it's more like a personal, and I would never say someone's wrong if they wanted to do this. So back in the day, I used to talk a lot about like getting laid on the first date, and I would say like how to do that, and that was kind of my main thing. And it's not that I think that's wrong. I think getting laid or having sex on the first date can be wonderful for your confidence, to show you what's possible. For a lot of you, you're in the mindset, or you've always been in the mindset of like, I have to go on like 5 dates before I can have sex with someone. And to have sex on the first date is just like, it blows your mind and it shows you what's possible. It shows you like, holy shit, it's just look good, talk to a lot of girls. Like, so in other words, that first step of looking good is just improve yourself until you look decent, and then talk to a lot of women. And some of them will have sex with you on the first date. That's mind-blowing for a lot of people. It was for me. And so for a lot of you, that will benefit you. But I don't push that anymore. That was definitely back then, I thought of it as like the holy grail. I was like, man, if you have sex on the first date, you're an alpha male, you're a god, like everything's great. Whereas now, I don't really push that. I say to every guy, like, do whatever you want. Like, just take it as it comes. Like, if you guys have sex on the first date, awesome. If you have sex on the third date, awesome. As long as you guys are both having fun, you're both benefiting, all of that kind of stuff. I focus more on that shit. Like, are you both... So I guess maybe that's something that's changed too. I focus more on like, are you both having a good time? Are you connecting? Whereas before it was more just like, how do I get that dick in that pussy? So yeah, it's not that I think it's not that my opinion has massively changed on having sex on the first date. It's just I personally don't have sex on first dates anymore. We might make out, we might fool around a little bit, but like we save the sex for the second date. Just because I like a chance to really make sure I like the person. I like to slow it down a little bit, get to know them, connect and all of that kind of shit. So I guess my opinion has changed on that, but if someone came to me and said, listen, I really want to have sex on the first date, it's important to me for this reason and this reason and this reason, like, I want to learn to have sex with women on the first date. I think it'd massively improve my confidence. I think it's important to me. I'd be like, good, beautiful. Make sure you're doing it in an honest way. Obviously, don't push the women into doing something they don't want to do. If you get to that point and they just say like, hey, listen, I don't think I want to do this tonight, be okay with doing it on the second date or the third date. Like, nothing bad happens if you have to wait a date or two. It's just a couple of days or a week. So yeah, I don't think my opinion has massively changed on anything. It might in future. It's more that it evolves. I think evolves is the better way of phrasing it. And I think that happens for a lot of us. It's like our opinions evolve and we go, oh, I understand why I said that thing in the past, but now I have a little bit more context. I have a little bit more information. I'm a little bit further along. I'm a little bit more knowledgeable and wise. And that's all wisdom is. It's just knowledge and getting a little bit further along. So you add all that extra caveats in. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that I've done like a complete 180 on. If you guys have any examples, like if you've found an old article or a podcast or something of mine that you think is just like radically goes against something that I've said now, like please leave a comment. Please tell me. Like I'm very curious because surely there's like something out there. Yeah, I'm really curious. So leave a comment. Yeah. I think we will wrap up there. Like I said, I gotta go. So I've answered some of your questions. I will answer the rest in a future video. And if any of you didn't get a chance to ask a question, you can ask a question in the original comment that I left. You can even leave a comment in this video and maybe I'll do it in a future one. I think I will do more of these. I had fun with this. This was cool. I like this better than doing this as a live stream because it gives me more time to think. I can pause the video and have a think like I did before. I can show shit on screen a little easier than if I live stream. So I'll do more of these. I had fun with this. I will answer the rest of your questions. I got to go have a threesome. And yeah, I hope this was helpful. Yeah, hope this was helpful, guys. See ya. Go crush your goals.